Recapping the picks after Victor Martinez, we had Alex Gordon, Chris Medlin, Martin Prado, Chase Headley, and Rafael Soriano all go. There goes Melky Cabrera, the juicer. I need to start thinking about second base, shortstop a little bit because I'm still lacking both of those positions and a middle infielder. I don't necessarily want to fill all those positions right away. I don't think I need to do that because there are plenty of value guys later like Everett Cabrera, Jed Lowry, and Andrelton Simmons that can all fill shortstop or middle infield. But yeah, I need to keep that in mind. There goes Jose Altuve. He was one of the guys I was considering with this pick. I might take another pitcher here, but I'm thinking Gomez is going to be the guy I want if he slides to my spot. The other guys I like here are Eric Hosmer and Paul Konerko, just to take up this corner infield spot and provide some pop. I can wait a little while longer on the middle infield spots. I think the guy that I want for second base is Chase Utley. I mentioned him in my most recent rankings article as a guy that I think is going a little undervalued this year based upon just his proven skill set. I understand he's been pretty injury prone lately, but he's healthy starting the year. That's a big step. And I don't think that it could get much worse. Like when he plays, he's good. So yeah, you're not really missing out on all that much if you wait on second baseman and try to take Utley in one of the later rounds. With that said, I'm not going to take him with this pick. I like Gomez here. Another guy I like here is Scherzer. And that would really kind of put me ahead on strikeouts. Josh Johnson was just selected. He's another guy I like a lot. But yeah, so now it comes down to Gomez or another pitcher. Here's the thing. The reason I like to devalue pitching in general is because most of the pitchers available right now here in the 10th round, guys like Matt Moore, Max Scherzer, Brandon Morrow. I mean, Ian Kennedy is not a guy I like, but I acknowledge that he has a pretty decent skill set. You further down, you have Hiroki Kuroda, John Lester, Jake Peavy, Anibal Sanchez. Like, these are all fine pitchers. I don't need to take any of them right now because one of them will come back to me next round. So I'm going to take Gomez, although Scherzer is a guy that I like a lot just for his very high K potential. And because I have these other four starters, I do need to start thinking about where I'm going to get my offense from. And Gomez is one of those guys who will probably hit 15 to 20 home runs and steal 35 to 40 bases. His batting average isn't anything special, but he's a valuable fantasy player, and he's going to make it onto my squad here. Catch you for the next round. All right, immediately after I took Carlos Gomez, Ike Davis, Matt Moore, Max Scherzer, Eric Hosmer, Anthony Rizzo, Mark Trumbo, Brandon Morrow, Fernando Rodney, and Asdrubal Cabrera were taken. The top of my rankings right now would be Paul Konerko. And I don't know how far down these rankings he is. He's down here quite a ways, down here all the way at 135. He's a guy I'm likely going to select in this round. I mean, we could get fancy and take a closer here and really kind of clash against all my fantasy baseball instincts. I'm not super concerned about second base still because Chase Utley is even further down than Konerko at 145. Let's see. So we could take Konerko. We could take a pitcher or closer like Rivera and Nathan. I think I have Nathan ranked highest out of those two. Yeah, Nathan's my number 5 closer behind the top 4. Or I guess my number 4 closer behind the top 3. I see that Chris Medlin has snuck into my relief pitcher ranks here. Yeah, we're going to go with Konerko, get some more homers. I like him more than most of the other options available at this point as far as offensive players go. Yeah, we're going to select him. I think we can continue to wait on closers, and that's something that, while I've said I'm going to deviate from my general draft strategy, taking closers early is still something that is not that important because saves are saves, and every team has a closer that's going to get some saves. Whether you get those saves in the 10th round or the 16th round doesn't really matter, to be honest. The fact that there are 2 auto drafters here means that those closers might start getting snatched up just by default. That's kind of annoying, but I'm not too concerned about it. Getting back to my other team, the team that I could have had, strangely enough, a lot of the flips just would have switched places. Like when I said I would have taken Gomez in the other league, I instead took another pitcher or something. I would have ended up with Scherzer and Gomez still in the other league. And in both leagues, I would have taken Paul Konerko in that round right there. Anyway, yeah, the teams are actually starting to mirror each other a little bit, because when you get to this point in the draft, it's kind of about filling holes where you need the help, whether it's middle infield or pitcher or outfield. And I tend to fill those spots with the same guys, maybe just drafted in a different order. So yeah, something to keep in mind. These teams might not be all that different when it's said and done. So yeah, we'll be back in just a minute with my 12th round pick. After the Konerko pick, the next guys selected were Ryan Howard, Mariano Rivera, Hanley Ramirez, Jeff Samardzija, and Andre Ethier. Ian Kennedy and Curtis Granderson are at the top of the ESPN ranks here. Now, Granderson's a guy I've been kind of avoiding because of the injury to start the season, but if he's available here, I might just take him. He's a guy you can stash on the DL, and of the other kind of players that are available right now, none of them excite me that much. I could take a closer. Nathan, Hanrahan, Putz are the top ESPN ranked ones. I think I have Nathan ranked the highest out of all of them. And if Granderson gets taken ahead of me here, then that's probably what I'll do. I'll just take a reliever. But as far as the batters go right now, most of the ones I like are buried far enough down in the rankings that I feel okay waiting and just going with a pitcher here. Joe Nathan was just taken. That's kind of a drag. And then Eric Ibar was selected. He's okay. I mean, Ibar feels kind of like a replacement level shortstop a lot of the time. He's definitely better than that, I guess, overall. But there are certain weeks and months out of the season where he's in your lineup and he's just no better than some schmo shortstop on a different team, you know? All right, one pick left before we come up here. I've got my sights set on Granderson, because the upside of taking him here is pretty big. Like if he comes back in May and he does Granderson things over the balance of the season and delivers like 40 home run, 100 RBI pace stats from that point on, that goes a long way in your lineup, especially if you're also getting a month and a half of some other outfielder while you're waiting for Granderson to come back. It's not full Granderson value, but then again, you might get somebody with a batting average that won't kill you too. Josh Willingham was just selected. So yeah, I'm going to take Granderson here. This is a bit of a departure for me as well. He's definitely a DL candidate above all else. If I were drafting my other team right now, I'd probably just take another starter. And of these guys, I think Anibal Sanchez is the guy I have ranked the highest. So I'll fill him into my little fake lineup on paper here, but we're going to put Granderson into our lineup in the draft. If clicking the draft player button will work. Did the software crash on me? It might have. Well, I'm going to restart here and catch you in a minute. All right, we're back. After Curtis Granderson was taken, Ian Kennedy, J.J. Putz, Joel Hanrahan, John Lester, Jonathan Neese, Danny Espinosa, Howard Kendrick, Angel Pagan, and Shane Victorino were selected. I'm glad I had Granderson at the top of my queue because apparently the draft software died on me there. Not totally sure what happened, but I don't know. This stuff definitely occurs from time to time when you do these online drafts. So it's always a good idea to have some players lined up in your queue that you want. Even if you end up reaching for a guy, at least it's the guy you wanted above all else. Oh, sound's back. Yuck. Nelson Cruz was just selected. He's a guy I like more than most, I think, and a guy I might have considered with this pick. With that said, we're looking at pitchers for the most part in the rankings here. I am tempted just to take Utley here because he's the guy that I want at second base, and he's on the front, the quote-unquote front page of the top players available in the overall rankings here on ESPN. So, yeah, it's either him or a closer. I'm going to continue to wait on closers. Yeah, Chase Utley, welcome to the team. Be back in just a second. After the Utley pick, Julio Teheran, John Axford, Hunter Pence, Jake Peavy, and Jim Johnson were selected. I should have noted on my last pick that when I took Utley. I think that Axford would have been the guy picked in the other draft, just to get a closer on the board, and he is a closer I like a lot compared to some of the other guys available. Coming up here for our own pick, we could also think about a closer. We don't have any yet. After Jim Johnson, Roy Halladay, and Carl Crawford were taken. One pick coming up here before we go. Top guys available in ESPN are Hiroki Kuroda, Tim Lincecum, Doug Fister, Anibal Sanchez. Sanchez is a guy I like. Top closers available on ESPN would be Addison Reed, Sergio Romo, and Greg Holland. I have Betancourt, Sergio Romo, Houston Street ranked higher than Holland. Not that Holland's bad by any stretch of the imagination here, but I just don't trust him as much to keep that job as some of the other guys. Romo's another guy that, while I like his skills and I do think that he could be a good closer for most of the year, if not all the year, the fact that Bochy played around with the closer role on the Giants so much last year makes me a little hesitant to make him the first closer I take. Torrey Hunter was just taken. So yeah, we're looking at another pitcher here. We need to fill shortstop, middle infield, outfield, utility, and one more outfield spot because Granderson's going to start the year hurt. And we have 5 pitching spots left to fill. So yeah, this is kind of a tough one. We're in a weird spot. I think I'm going to continue to wait on starting pitchers, if only because I started off so well in that regard. And there are a lot of guys a little further down, like Matt Harvey, Shelby Miller, that I like more than some of the options here. So I'm going to take a closer. I think the guy I have ranked the highest is Betancourt, but he's pretty far down here. I might be able to snag him later. So I'm thinking about taking someone else. The other option is just to take a shortstop here, and Alcides Escobar is a pretty good option for this late in the draft. He's a guy with a lot of speed. I don't know if he can maintain that 293 batting average. The clock's winding down here. Yeah, let's go cruising in an Alcides. I like that. Not exactly what I said I was going to do, but I don't know. Now we only need to fill a middle infield, an outfield, or 2 outfields, I should say, and a utility. So the offense is pretty much done. Now we can go back to looking at pitchers, and the abundance of closers kind of available right now makes it so I'm not too worried about making that happen. We'll be back in, well, let's just keep going, because with these auto picks, these picks should go pretty fast. After I took Escobar, J.J. Hardy, Hiroki Kuroda, Tim Lincecum, Sergio Romo, and Matt Harvey were selected. People are starting to wise up on these hyped up players like the Matt Harveys, kind of like what I talked about with Adrian Gonzalez earlier. Like, everybody knows that they're ranked a little too low on these sites. Just the fantasy hive mind, the consensus, just the wisdom at large as far as fantasy baseball goes, understands that these players are undervalued by the default rankings, so you can't wait on them too long when it comes draft time. I don't know who I would have selected with that last pick in the, what do you want to call it, hypothetical draft. Possibly a starter. I probably would have taken another closer, to be honest. And yeah, in that case, I might have taken, well, I would need a shortstop, a middle infield, and an outfielder in that hypothetical draft. Let's say I would have taken Betancourt there, because I think he's the guy that I like more than most. And as it stands now, I think I actually like the team I'm drafting more than the hypothetical team I would have ended up with. So that's interesting to note. After Harvey, Ricky Weeks, Michael Morse, Doug Fister, Anibal Sanchez, and Adam LaRoche were each taken. So with me on the clock here, I could take a first closer, and I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take Addison Reed here, possibly. Let's see. I want to look at some stats here. Let's see what these guys did. I didn't realize Greg Holland had so many strikeouts last year. All right, well, maybe I'm undervaluing him. Let's try him. That's a bit of a departure from my rankings, so I don't know. Kind of fun. Greg Holland, welcome to the team. I'll be back in just a minute with the next round. Okay, we're back here for round 16. After I took Holland, Houston Street, Addison Reed, Marco Scudero, Rafael Betancourt, Pedro Alvarez, and C.J. Wilson were taken. So it looks like I started a run on closers. That's kind of fun. We're looking at maybe an outfielder here or another pitcher. Ichiro Suzuki was just taken. I could fill my utility spot. The guy I like at the top of the rankings the most to do that would be Mike Moustakas. But between some of the other guys that are a little further down, Todd Frazier, Kendrys Morales, Brandon Belt is way down there. I don't necessarily think I need to take that utility spot so soon. If I'm going to do that, I might as well just take an outfielder because I have 2 of those spots to fill. The pitchers available now are kind of interesting. I could take another starter here. There are a lot of closers that are really far down in the ESPN rankings. Of the starters, kind of near the top here, the guys I like are Homer Bailey and Mike Minor. Dan Herron I have ranked kind of high, but I think he's hurt. I don't really trust him to be super useful this year. Further down, some guys I like are Alexi Ogando, who's going to start for the Rangers this season. Yeah, well, Grant Balfour was just selected, so the run on closers continues to some extent. I'm going to take Homer Bailey. Yeah, we'll run with that. If we're lucky, maybe Swisher will be available next round, or Todd Frazier as a utility spot. So, yeah, here we go. We'll see what happens.